Hello everyone. So I'll be going back and forth a little bit between the summary and the specific news. First of all, I have a follow-up on something we talked about yesterday, namely Zelensky's firing his defense minister and replacing him with someone else. So as promised, I did ask around and get more information about it. So let's dive into that and I'll tell you what's going on with that. So the bit I'm talking about is right down there, the third bullet point about Minister of Defense of Ukraine, Alexei Reznikov, being dismissed and replaced with Rustem Umerov. So what happened? While a lot of people are going to say, well, firing your Minister of Defense while you're fighting a war is probably not a great idea, unless the Minister of Defense is stealing from the very army he's supposed to support and whom he's supposed to help. What a lot of folks don't understand is that the Minister of Defense himself might be a military person, but not necessarily. And what he does, or she does, in that role is not necessarily having to do with the strategy, although it's probably affected. It has to do with administration. It has to do with supply chain. It has to do with rations, medications, uniforms, all the little things that make the army functional. And what this man was doing, apparently, was buying all of those things at one price and citing a different price on the rosters, on the receipts, and on the bills, and pocketing the difference. If you can think of anything more underhanded to do, to your own people, to your own army, during the war, than lining your own pockets with money at the cost to your own government and your own army, I can't think of anything. And so that is why he was dismissed. Now, the new gentleman, Rustem Umerov, is not from Zelensky's kind of old circle of friends, which makes him unique. Apparently, he is a decent, intelligent guy, and he is a great advocate for the rights of the Crimean Tatars, which is very important in this war. So, since he's brand new, he's just been appointed, we'll just have to wait and see how he works out, and I hope he works out okay. Now, back to the news. The biggest news story, basically reported on by all of my usual sources, including Ukrainian, European, Middle Eastern, and American, very consistently, is this. So Cuban government, Cuban foreign ministry had released a statement that it had uncovered a human trafficking ring aimed at recruiting Cubans, both those living in Cuba and those in Russia, into the Russian army to fight in Ukraine. This goes back to many, many months ago, to the start of the war, when I was saying to all of the countries that had any kind of representation or any kind of small population of their citizens living in Russia, get your people out. It doesn't matter if your country is Russia's ally. It doesn't matter. Get them out of there. Well, this is yet another reason to do so. While it's true that Cuba has been a long-term supporter of Russia and long-term ally of Russia, they are not in favor of using mercenaries, especially using their own citizens as mercenaries in Russian army without their consent. And they did not want to take any sides in the war in Ukraine for fear of damaging its slowly reviving relationships with the rest of the world, especially with the United States. In addition to Cuba, there's now apparently some videos that are claiming that there's some Serbian citizens who are training to fight alongside Russian troops in Ukraine. Now, this article describes them as volunteers. I'd like to have a confirmation of that, considering the history of Serbia-Herzegovina conflict, which led to their split, and the history of the ethnic cleansing in that particular region. I'm surprised, because Serbians really should know better. And then there is this. This is from Telegraph. I'm looking for additional sources to confirm. Telegraph has been kind of hit and miss when it comes to the news in Ukraine. So apparently there's been another drone down near Putin's residence in Moscow. I'd like a confirmation as to what exactly happened and where it came from, and was it actually a Ukrainian drone? Because from what we have seen so far over the last 6 months, there's been acts of sabotage from within Russia carried out by Russia's sympathizers of Ukraine. So they can't talk about it, they can't write about it, they can't do anything to show their support for Ukraine except engage in these very dangerous activities. Obviously, people of Ukraine are grateful to them, but of course, just as obviously, these people are at great risk. So it's very possible that people inside Russia are following Ukrainians' suit and cobbling together homemade drones using basic parts that you can buy off of pretty much sites online or in a hardware store, and launching them in these, prohibited areas, etc. If I get more information about this, I'll let you know.